Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel, Vlog SA. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and ring the notification bell. Also, watch my previous videos, they are very informative. On today's video, I have a very special guest who will be giving law students some advice in terms of applying for vacation work as well as articles of clerkship. Welcome, Refqah. Thank you for availing yourself.
My pleasure, Zibalule. Lovely to be here.
Okay, well, thank you so much for that. Before we get on to the questions, can you briefly introduce yourself as who is Refqah, like a brief personal and professional background?
Sure. So I am an attorney, a conveyancer, and also a partner at law firm called STBB, which stands for Smith Tabata Buchanan Boys. I'm based at our Claremont office, but we've got branches all over the country. I've been here for more than 12 years, and before that I had my own law firm for 10 years, also right here in Claremont and in the southern suburbs in Cape Town. I'm married with 2 little boys, and yeah, born and bred from Cape Town. That's me. And I'm so happy. I mean, one of my passions is dealing with law students, so I'm very excited to share whatever I can in my experience in dealing with law students, not just the law students that join our firm as candidate attorneys, but the many law students that I speak to who come to us for vacation work twice a year, or those who I interview. And unfortunately, we can't employ everybody, so I interview so many more law students that I end up employing, unfortunately.
All right. Thank you so much. I understand that you are an attorney, but at the same time, you also deal with recruitment. So what do recruiters do just in general? What do they do?
The candidates?
No, recruiters at the firm.
Recruiters. Okay, so I'm going to use our firm as an example, but it is quite general, and that applies to the recruiters at most law firms. So at our firm at STBB, I am the partner that recruits the candidate attorneys, and together with our HR, our human resources manager, Marianne. And the same would be the case in most law firms, or they would have a recruitment agent that they might outsource to. But each firm has its own culture. They know who's the right fit for their firm. And so the person that would be interviewing you would definitely not just be a potentially a recruitment officer, but it would be the HR manager and certainly one or more partners of the firm. And so when you get interviewed at STBB, you would be interviewed by Marianne, our HR manager, myself as one of the directors, and then also one of our other directors, and currently Nicole Stevens assists me with recruitment as well. And I think it's important don't be scared off if you get interviewed by a panel of people, because everyone's got their own opinion of who they might think is the right fit for their firm. So you know, my tip really is, if you hear that you're being interviewed by a panel, don't be freaked out and scared of that. It actually benefits you, because if you get interviewed by more than one person, one of the other people in the room might click with you and might get a better feel for you than the other person. So you stand a better chance, I think, if you get interviewed by more than one person.
Okay, wow. Okay, thank you for that. I think it covered, to most part, my next question. The one I was going to ask now is to, in general, what do law firms look for in students? Like, what would you consider a quality student? Maybe you can voice your opinion on that. Yeah.
Of course. Thank you. And I've been recruiting law students for a very long time. I won't tell you how many years and give away my age, but it's forever. And, you know, I'm very passionate about sharing my experience and my tips with law students, because I think that people mean well when they give you advice, but they give everybody the same advice. And so I'll tell you what we look for, and then I'll also, my advice is to take what I'm saying, take what you read up about good interviews, what you hear from other people, and adapt that to your own personality. Okay. So by that I mean, we're looking for somebody who wants to be in law. Okay, so the first thing that you do is it's your opportunity to shine. You don't downplay the fact that I don't want someone who's arrogant, but don't be so humble that you're apologizing for being alive, that you're apologizing for who you are. So you need to balance, the fact that you are there to boost yourself, but at the same time, you don't want to come across as too aggressive and over eager. But I do need someone who really wants to prove to me that I want this position. I've only got maybe 12 positions to offer. Tell me what sets you apart from everybody else. I want to see the personality. So at our firm, we've got such a personal approach to our clients that I need to know that I'm not dealing with a robot. I'm not just dealing with someone who's just memorized things that they think I want to hear. I really want your personality to shine through. So it's very important. Your CV is very personal, and we'll get to the CVs later. Your CV got you in the door. Okay, now you're in. Now you need to wow me with your personality. I don't necessarily need, I'm not going to get the full you in a very short space of time, but it's so important that I get someone who's honest about where they are at. If you've got a CV where you've maybe had some dodgy results, own those. Always own it and tell me why you got those results and where you're improving this year. If I'm interviewing you in final year, for example, if you partied your heart out in first year, that's okay. We were all in first year. If you were a matric, in matric you did so well, you've got these A's and B's, and your results in first year are so different. It's okay. It's a completely different environment that you moved into. You moved to varsity. You might have moved away from home. You suddenly got this workload. Just own it. It's yours. You can't change that. Those are your results. But you can explain them to me. You don't try and be dismissive. You can explain and say, I partied and I tried to do it all. I signed up for every, course and committee, and I got involved with so many things. I met a guy, I met a girl, whatever. But own it and explain to me why your results were like that in first year, but see how I improved in second year. Or I was doing really well in first and second year, and then we had a family death, or I needed to go and help my family work. And so that's why my results in third year are maybe, a little bit, dropped a little bit, but then see how I improved. So you always own the dodgy things in your CV, and then you explain to me how you've rectified that, because I want to see a fighter. Because studying law, there's so much coursework, there's so much theory, and there's so much to read. And so I want to know that person who will pick themselves up is the person that's going to come into my firm and is going to take what we throw at you in articles, and you're going to take that challenge and use it as an opportunity to grow. Because if you've had an easy ride and you're showing me I'm a straight A student, where's the fight? I want to see the fight. I want to see that you worked hard. I want to see in the interview someone who is, as I said, someone who's just your personality, someone who's telling me about their family background. I want to know that you can cope with things that I can throw at you. There'll be challenges. There'll be clients that you might be uncomfortable around. There might be something you've never heard of. I want you to be able to say, I don't know what you're talking about, Refqah, so I need you to explain this to me before I can do the research or the work for you. So I don't want a robot. Our firm doesn't recruit, robots as in you're book smart. You can be absolutely book smart, but if you have no personality, you're not going to be much help for me. And likewise, if you all talk and you don't have the brain cells behind all that talk, and you don't have, you can't help me either. You know what I mean? Because you can't just be that joker and that charming guy or girl, and then you don't have the brain cells to back you up. So it's a bit of a balance. Okay.
I quite understand. I think maybe a CV won't allow one to be as much as personal as you want them. So that side, you might want them to express it on their cover letter. So what approach should one take in approaching how to write a cover letter and so forth? Because I feel like the marks and everything I
Yeah.
in the cover letter as to this is who I am, this is what I've gone through, and this is where I am now.
Completely. I mean, you're speaking my language. I love a personal cover letter, and I think most people do, because remember I said your CV gets you in the door, but your CV is accompanied by a cover letter. So just put yourselves in the shoes of the recruitment officer or the HR manager or my assistant or me, and we receive all these CVs, and you all copied the same format of a CV. You've all taken the same cut and paste, the same cover letter. You can see everyone's from the same university, the same class. They've shared the same cover letter. There's nothing wrong with taking a very good cover letter, okay? Take the cover letter and take out the meaty points and the tips that when you read up on what's the best cover letter, but adapt that and make it your own, make it personal. I don't want to just see, hi, I'm Zibalule, and this is this is where I'm studying. These are my courses. I've always wanted to be an attorney since I was 6 years old. No, no, no. And I really want to work for your law firm because you read up something about my law firm and you're writing down something.
Yeah.
I want you to use that cover letter to bring out your personality. Tell me about your life experience. Tell me, I don't need to know why you wanted to study law. Clearly you wanted to study law. That's why you studied law and you're applying for this. I don't need to hear that. I want you to make me laugh or make me cry, and don't make something up, for goodness sake. If you didn't have a tough time, it's okay. It's all right. It's fine.
Yeah.
But tell me about you. And don't just tell me about law. Tell me that you are also interested in whatever it is. I don't care if you're interested in the Avengers or if you're interested in knitting. I don't mind. It doesn't matter. Just, I want to read about more than what I'm going to see in your CV, because I can see all those things in the CV. Don't repeat the things in the CV. Tell me about your family. Tell me, are you the middle child? Are you the eldest child? Are you the first person to go to varsity? Are you the 100th person to go to varsity? Tell me anything. Tell me that whatever you want to share. And if there's something, everybody has something special about themselves, every one of us, okay? Yeah. It might be completely unrelated to law. It might be completely unrelated to ever getting a job one day. But you can tell me and tell anyone, it's about you. So there's what sets you apart. If you're sitting in your class and you look around all those kids and you think, okay, what makes me different? What makes me different as a law student? Yes, you're going to tell me, everybody tells me the same thing. Everyone tells me they're hardworking. Everybody tells me that they've got research skills. Everybody tells me, tell me how many languages you speak. You know, there's so many things that everyone's going to say, but if you literally just think about it, just think, what sets me apart? What makes me different? So put that humor, put that humanity into your cover letter. Yeah. You know, that really sets you apart than hearing the same old. And if I can just add, in your cover letter and in your CV, I don't want to see typos. I don't want to see spelling mistakes. I don't want to see grammar mistakes. I want to see that you use a capital when you're supposed to use a capital. It's basics, right? It sounds so basic when I say it. But you're law students, and we work with words. We prepare documents. We send, you know, hard-hitting emails. We send comforting emails. We draft letters to get a message across that this is our clients' interests that we are representing. So I don't want somebody who can't even proofread their own CV and their cover letter and give it to somebody else to look at, because you don't see it anymore. You know, if you type your own thing and you've read it 20 times, you won't see your own typos anymore. Give it to someone to read, and give it to someone who's going to be who's your fiercest critic, you know. Give it to that sibling that, you know, oh my gosh, my sister is going to can you know, criticize me like nobody else. I will send it to my sister and ask her to read it, because when you get so many applications, even if you've got an interesting cover letter, I'll be quite disappointed when I see, oh my gosh, this person couldn't even spell the word, or my firm's name is STBB. Why did you say STTB? You can't even get the name of my firm right, and you want to come and work here. So,
it's no mistake,
you know, so it's okay. You don't have to be English speaking. And on that, I think it's fantastic. I mean, I'm just shocking. I speak English and my Afrikaans is shocking, and I'm embarrassed that I can pretty much maybe greet, you know, in one or two other languages, and that's it. And I'm so impressed when people can speak more than one language, but just understand that unfortunately the business language in this country is very much still English. So make sure that your application is in English, your cover letter, it gets to a broader audience. And if English is not your first language, and even if it is and you're just a shocking English student, have someone proofread and check it for you. I find that often when you're translating, when English is your second or your third or your fourth language, it comes through, and I try not to hold it against you, but imagine I'm getting a really good application from someone who actually also speaks 4 languages like you, but has better English than you. Why wouldn't you just have someone proofread that? Okay.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. It makes sense. Thank you so much for that. I think it's really good advice that one should personalize their cover letter so that it speaks for them, because they are not there at the moment to justify everything that's on their CV. So I'll just move on to the next question, which is the factor of age. Do you consider age when you are selecting the applications? For instance, you'd say younger candidates are better suited or a better investment as opposed to older candidates.
So we don't consider age, we consider maturity. And I will chat to you about age in a minute. But if you are, so of course, you know, there are so many different types of law degrees. Some people will do a straight 4-year, and some people will do an undergrad degree followed by, you know, postgrad LLB, for example. So we see so many different ages, and then someone comes to us, they've had a straight 4-year course, for example, so they're younger maybe than the next person I'm interviewing. It's not about the age, it's about your level of maturity. So you could be really young, but you could be quite mature and responsible, and that comes through. And so I'd probably take that candidate over someone who's maybe the same age, also young, but you're still quite young at heart and immature, meaning that you're still quite childish. I mean, 4 years after high school, you know, you're still quite a baby. And it's amazing. You can compare yourself. I mean, if you sit with your friends your own age, you know, some of you might come across as really older than the rest because they just have a bit more, they're just more mature. They're just comfy in their own skin. They know where they're going.
Yeah.
If someone is too immature, and that's okay. You know, there's nothing wrong with being youthful. Hang on to it as long as you can. But if I'm comparing you with people in your class and you are quite immature, you might not cope with the clients. You might not cope with the demands of being a candidate attorney. You might not cope with, you know, quite a hardcore boss. So, and the demands of, imagine you're in the litigation department and it's hectic and there are timelines involved and you messing up. I can't have someone who's so immature that you don't know how to manage your own emotions. Somebody who, so if you are somebody who is sensitive, you get easily upset, you take things very personally, that candidate might have to consider doing a master's or an honors or something where you're going to give yourself an extra year maybe to mature, to grow up a little bit, even study something else, you know, just to give yourself that 1 year. Or that candidate might be better suited in a small firm. You also have to look at your personality. So it's so important to apply to a mix of firms. You might in your head think that you are Harvey Specter, but you're not. So my suggestion is apply to various sizes of firms. You might apply to a really big firm, medium size, and a couple of small firms, because only when you go to them for back work or for interviews do you get a feel, not only for the firm, but where you would actually fit in. Because when I interview candidates, if I feel that they're not actually suited for our large size firm, I then advise them that, you know, you are more suited to this size firm or that type of department, because we've just seen so much, and because I had a smaller firm of my own, so I know where there is maybe a better fit for someone. So don't limit yourself. When you apply everywhere. Don't just think these are the firms I want to get into and these are the only places that I'm going to apply for. And don't just also limit yourself and think maybe I'm only suited to a small firm. Apply to all sizes of firms. You know, it really does help. And then in terms of the opposite, the older candidates, I find that an older candidate, someone who's maybe worked first and then studied, or you get candidates who study part-time, so they're older, or you've had a very creative couple of years, and so you've maybe, you know, taken a long time to get your degree, or you might be someone's parent who's studying law later in life. You know, I'm sure I really take my hat off to and admire people who study while they're working. It's incredible at any age. So if I get older candidates, and I've got some now, I mean, I've got a candidate who's older than me, and she's doing her articles with us. There's absolutely nothing wrong with having an older candidate, but the firm that they go to must also be a fit, because I do counsel them during the interview. So if, for example, I get somebody who's maybe much older or not even that old, maybe if all the other candidates are in their early 20s and here you are late 20s or 30 years old, it's important for the candidate to also have the humility and understanding that you are going to be in a team of people where you're at the bottom of the food chain, because you're starting out, you're doing your articles, and you're going to be treated like a 25-year-old, but you're maybe 30 or 35 already, and you need to have the humility and the maturity to be able to cope with that your boss might be younger than you. You might be asked to do pretty basic things like filing and serving documents and running off to court just to deliver a document, but yet you're 30 odd years old, so, or maybe 40 or 50 years old. So as long as the person understands, and I said to the candidate who's older than me, I said to her, just remind yourself why you're here. It's no one else's life but yours. It's no one else's articles but yours. Yeah. Focus on why you're here. It doesn't matter that you're 50 and you're running around with a 20-odd-year-old dropping off documents. Yeah. So it's important that the candidate understands, focus, eye on the prize all the time. And if you're young also, you can convince me in that interview. If I think, oh my gosh, this person is so useful and they're still a baby, you convince me why you're strong enough and mature enough to do articles with me, even though you're younger. So your age shouldn't matter, but we do have concerns because of what we see in the workplace. So it's for you to sell yourself to us if you're younger or older.
Wow, thank you so much. You just put that out there very clearly. I quite understand it. I'll then come to the next question, which is going to refer to different institutions. They have different reputations and all sorts of things. So does that carry any weight in terms of an application if one is from another institution that is recognized as good? Or
okay, so we don't look at which university or institution you come from. It's not important to us. What is important to us is the character of the candidate sitting in front of us, or whose CV we're looking at, because you could come from a really reputable institution, but you could be quite a character yourself and not actually worth meeting or giving a position to. And likewise, you could be coming from a campus that hasn't had the best resources, just like a high school, for example, or you could have had really tough circumstances. And so we look at the candidate, and it's so important. So bearing in mind, we don't look at your CV on its own. We're looking at lots of CVs at the same time. So imagine on my desk, I've got, say, all the CVs from your campus. I look at the candidate. So I'm not taking a candidate from this university and that university and someone studying maybe online, whatever, through UNISA. So we look at all the candidates, and I look at your character, I look at your drive, your eagerness, and yes, I look at your academics. But it doesn't mean that you have to be a straight A student, because as I said, we certainly look at more than that. There are, though, I'm sure, some firms that have a preference and they would look at a specific campus. I think that if you come from a campus where let's say there was something in the paper over the last year that you think that recruiter might have seen that about my university, we'd probably appreciate it. Not me necessarily, but maybe another firm that you're applying to. If you say, you'll note that I'm currently studying at XYZ university, and there was some bad press, in my final year or in my intermediate year, and I want to assure you that that is no reflection on me as a student, or that there was some drama or whatever was on the campus, and you can explain how you either weren't a part of it or you were part of it because it was meaningful and was necessary. If, for example, there was some protest action and you were part of it, explain why you protested and what you did and what you managed to achieve. So I think, as I said, with anything, own it, explain it, and move on. Okay. Yeah. But it doesn't, the campus, if you had a campus where there have been issues, for example, during the pandemic, some campuses were able to provide support, data, Wi-Fi, access to their library, and then another campus wasn't able to do that. So there's nothing wrong with explaining that and saying, you know what, I'm applying to you, and I've had quite a tough year because it was during lockdown. My campus wasn't accessible. I had to go home for the 6 months. I didn't have Wi-Fi. That's all part of your personal story, so that you will put in your cover letter. But it certainly doesn't get held against you as to the campus you come from, or give you preference.
Wow. Okay, thank you so much. A lot of firms have quite moved towards paper-based applications, and have sort of used some online platforms such as Leaply for their applications. How accurate are they in selecting the right caliber of candidates you want? Specifically, perhaps to your firm, if you use any of those, for instance, you're looking for personality. Personality might not, you may not be able to bring up personality while using an online platform. Yeah.
Exactly. So our firm doesn't use any of those platforms for that very reason. I know that because of the type of candidates, some people use those platforms just to try and filter through so that they can get a very specific type of candidate. I think it doesn't obviously help with gauging someone's personality or their character. Those platforms will certainly sift through the first layer of applications to maybe get to the academic quality that we require. So, for example, you could then obviously put in whatever configuration and type of candidate that you're looking for. So with those platforms, you might then use it to sift through and say, okay, we'll interview all the A students first. So then those online platforms are quite handy, because then you just kind of sift through, the top students first, and then I'll take on, the next level and so on. We do as I said, we look at academics, but we look at personality, and we look at the whole candidate. I certainly do look at academics in that I don't want someone to be out of their depth. I won't take on someone who's so weak that I think you won't survive in our firm either. It's not fair to the candidate. But we have a very manual system here. So I mean, we get hundreds of applications, but we still prefer manual application system. But a lot of those online platforms do assist firms to, even if they are going to interview candidates that are on the top of their class and maybe the middle tier, it's a way for them to sift through and say, okay, this is the batch of A students, this is the B students, and so on. And then through that, they'll then be able to gauge who's a good fit for their firm. But yeah, we certainly don't do that, but we do resort to other forms of electronic checks, and that's, of course, social media.
Okay. Yeah, and I was coming to that question of social media. In terms of social media activity, do you take that into account, and how far do you go in looking at the activity that one engages on social media?
So, various firms, as I said, they have different platforms and different things that they check. Most firms are checking, doing their own, it's like references, it's like a background check. So on your CV, you might put your couple of lecturers that you worked with, or if you did any part-time work while you were studying, you'd put your employer's details as a character reference. So we would certainly contact those references. And we also like to get a feel for a candidate. I'm not interested in scrutinizing and going to check out every single photo of yours, but we do look for three things. So we will go on to, for example, if you're on Facebook, if you're on Instagram, if you're on Twitter, we try and find a bit of a presence to check a number of things. I check for racist content, I check for sexism, and I also check for violent tendencies and a violent reaction to a topic. And it's very important because you need to know that the person coming into your firm doesn't have those kind of tendencies, because if you're coming into a work environment, it's very different to varsity, because it's a professional environment. Number one, you're coming into a law firm, you're representing us, you're representing the client at court, in a consultation, in a meeting with other attorneys, you're representing a client. You are a member of the professional staff from the minute you start interviews, articles. So it's very, very important. And it's your own brand. It's your own reputation that starts on day one. So bear that in mind when you're on social media. I don't mind if you're partying and you're with your friends, you're young, you're a human being, carry on. But I do check for racist content. I look and see, how do you react to things? Do you comment? And what do you say? And I don't believe that saying, oh, it was just a joke. If you say something racist, no matter what the color of your skin, if you say something racist, even in a joke, it shows that is your character. It's part of me getting a feel for your character. Are you racist? Okay. Are you sexist? How do you treat men and women in your social circle, in your community? Because I need to know that I can put you in an open plan office of, with a team of people. Law is a very collaborative industry. It's a very collaborative, teamwork orientated environment. I can't put you in that environment and expect someone to teach you and for you to learn and to become part of our team if you are aggressive, if you are sexist, and if you're racist and you can't work with a mix of people. We are a multicultural, whatever. We're such a mixed bag of people at this firm, and we take pride in the fact that our firm is so mixed and transformed, and we've got all types of ages, and you're not going to be doing anyone a favor if you are a nutcase.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. I guess we as candidates should be extra careful with our social media activity. Yeah.
Yes.
My next question relates to
Completely, keep that in mind. It's there forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With regards to CVs, some people put their pictures on their CVs and some omit that. Is that something that's necessary, or you say it's subjective? Depends on what the candidate would like to put on their CV.
I would recommend that you put on there for one reason only. It's not about you. It's not that, oh my gosh, I'm going to take the most beautiful person or look for the best photo. I think it helps the recruiter because we get so many applications. So remember, you're going to be trying to stand out by sending us a really personal, interesting cover letter, well written. You're also going to send me a very good CV. You're going to then hopefully get a foot in the door and come and meet with me. Now, bearing in mind that we get hundreds of applications, we shortlist that down to maybe 50 people, and I'm taking on maybe 12 or 15 people a year. And at other firms, it'll be less. So imagine we interview, 40 people, and at the end of it, I've got to go back, even though I made notes about you and said, oh my gosh, I really want that person. After 2 weeks of interviews, I've got to go back to your CV and say, okay, I really wanted that person. The photo will remind me of you.
Yeah.
Okay, so each recruiter is very different, and some people might actually take a photo of you when you arrive at your interview. They're all very different, or they might have cameras, who knows, they're recording you. But I think a photo does help, but be very careful. If you are going to put in a photo, keep it small, make it just like a normal ID size photo.
Yeah.
Don't get all dramatic. It's not a modeling shoot. That's actually going to put the person off more than anything else. Don't send a whole big A4 size photo of you either. You can put a copy of your ID if your ID photo is okay. Do not send a photo of your ID if you look like you should be, I don't know, in jail. You can just get it, take a really nice pic and print it. And just for myself, I mean, I'm speaking for myself as someone who interviews and recruits people, every single year, and I've been doing it for many years. Ladies, take a professional photo. Understand that this is not a photo you're sending to your boyfriend. You are sending it to a law firm. So I don't need to see so much skin. You don't have to be wearing a strappy top. You can dress as conservatively as possible. You don't have to dress like an old lady, but just be professional, cover up. And likewise, guys, it's a professional photo. Just having a very neat t-shirt or shirt and just have someone take a photo of you, not a selfie. And I think it does help. It's really not about you. It's about the recruiter, so that you want to stand out. Remember, this whole process is about you standing out versus everybody else in your class and every other class all over the country. So a photo certainly does help as well.
Yeah, it does help putting out your personality out there. Yeah, talking about photos, I understand that as lawyers, we are expected to look decent and professional. But nowadays, you see that there's a lot of trends of different hairstyles and everything. When it comes to hairstyles, what did you say one should limit themselves, or does it some sort of have a disadvantage if you are too much bold?
Sure. Such a good question. I mean, it's so personal for that firm. And so I think certainly for an interview, I mean, this year was a crazy year because, of course, I was interviewing people online and they were at home and they looked like they'd been growing their hair for a long time. You know, so you can excuse that because obviously someone looks like just like Mountain Man, but you know, they've got beards and they wouldn't have necessarily have looked like that if they weren't in lockdown. So I certainly don't mind that I've interviewed people like that this year. If that's you, it's okay, but I'm going to add a but. Okay. If you have big hair, if you've got a long beard, if you whatever, you know, my hair is blue, so I mean, please, you know, I'm the last person to crit you. If your hair is pink, whatever, that's you, because on the one hand, we need to meet you because I don't want to interview you with 1 week and then that's not you, and then you turn up for work. Like, who's this? This isn't the person that I interviewed. You're covering up your pink hair with a black wig, and then I interview you, and then on the first day of work, you actually have pink hair and you turn up with pink hair. Let me rather meet the pink hair, and then I know that's who's coming. So it's about being true and honest. But having said that, you know, it's such a difficult process to try and get articles. There are so many of you, and I feel so badly for all of you because there's so many people out there. And unfortunately, law is still a very conservative industry.
Yeah.
So my tip is, if you go for an interview, go onto that firm's website and get a feel for the firm. If you go onto our website, all our photos are on the website. Okay, all of us, all the attorneys at this firm, all our photos are up on the website. You'll get a feel for, do they have big hair? Do they have pink hair? I respond to people that are maybe quite chatty in the interview because I'm chatty. So if you look up a law firm that you're going to, remember you're trying to prove to that law firm why you should be included in their team. Now you look up that law firm's photos and you don't see anybody with a big shaggy beard and big hair, but you turn up at the interview like that, it's you, but they might not connect with you because you're not showing them, I'm trying to fit into your look and feel. What you can do is, I did interview a guy who came with big curls one day, and he walked in and he said to me, I'm so sorry, I just want to let you know that I've just come back from holiday and I haven't had a chance to get my hair cut yet. But if I get this position, would you please tell me what you prefer? I'm very happy to trim my hair or wear a ponytail. And I appreciated his honesty and the fact that he asked me what my firm's opinion would have been. And I said to him, I don't mind your long hair. I love it, but I'm just thinking it is a very conservative industry. And so maybe if you could have it trimmed or tied into a ponytail, and you will see when you start working how uncomfortable you are with a ponytail as a guy. If you feel, no, this isn't suiting me and the type of clients that they're letting me work with, you'll make that call because I'm telling you, it's just hair. You've got to pick your battles, people. It's not worth saying, then they can't have me. I've had that already. I've had a candidate say to me, oh, I went to this firm and they didn't like my hair and my beard and whatever. I said, but you're showing them that your hair is more important than getting into their firm. You're sending the wrong message. You can grow your hair at any time. You can have that one day when you finish your articles. Why don't you get into the firm get good articles. And if you open your own firm one day and that's what you want, and you might outgrow it. I mean, if you look back at your photos now, don't you laugh at yourself and you think, oh my God, did I really wear that fashion? Did I really have that hairstyle? Did I really do that? So you change as well. Why are you going to jeopardize articles? It's not forever. Why are you going to do that to yourself just over a hairstyle? So while at the same time I understand the argument about, let's say, this whole argument about the natural hair and la la la. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about neatness. So, you know, at my firm, for example, everybody's walking around here with different hairstyles, fake hair, real hair, natural hair. It doesn't matter to us. What matters is the neatness and the cleanliness, and are you professional, and what kind of person you are. Okay, but don't let it get in the way. Don't stand on a soapbox about my hairstyle, and which you're going to change anyway. You can't tell me when you're 20 years old that hairstyle you're going to keep when you're 40 years old. You're going to change anyway. Change for articles and move on. It's not worth it. Pick your battles.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for that. That was my last question.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like you to thank very much for availing yourself, as well as responding truthfully, honestly, and profoundly to my questions. The responses, I'm sure, can be very helpful to a number of law students who will be watching this. So thank you so much.
And my pleasure. All the best out there, everybody. And you know, I'm very, very passionate about all of you getting the best articles. And just remember, there are so many people that you're competing against. Be yourself. But at the same time, if you get turned down for articles, I firmly believe that where you're supposed to be, you will end up. So if you don't get in for articles, don't waste the year. Offer to go in free, even if you can't afford it. Offer to go and work somewhere and say, can you please take me on for articles free? I mean, to give you an example, okay, you'll give away my age. So I did my article such a long time ago, and I went to, you know, you do the lead course and you shorten your article. So I went to UCT's law school, and I did the practical legal course for 6 months full-time so that I could shorten my articles. But that was also because I wasn't sure that I was going to get articles, and there were so many people applying, and I did so well. And you think, okay, I'm going to get articles, and then all of a sudden you're up against everybody as well. And if I offered to go and work free just so that I could get articles, you know, and I got paid a minimum, you know, amount. Literally just covered, you know, my petrol money, and that was fine because I just wanted articles. But I was fortunate enough in that I still lived at home, and I worked part-time as well. So I worked weekends while I could do articles in the day. And so it's just about taking any opportunity that you can. And if you don't get in and you are able to study further, take that year. You know, do your LLM. It only helps. It's amazing when I interview candidates from final year to a candidate who doesn't get articles and then, or says to me, I really want to do my LLM. Will you interview me the next year? They've grown so much, and your research skills, and so there's always an opportunity, and there's nothing wrong with, obviously you want to go straight from varsity and get into a firm. If you don't get into a firm, go and do something else. Try and get into an internship, go to SARS, go to the municipality, because it all adds up and it counts in your favor. I've got someone doing articles now who didn't get articles right after varsity, and he went to do an internship at one of the government departments. And he's flying here now because he's had a year of experience somewhere else. So, you know, network, take whatever you can. You know, you might stay on at university and be an assistant to one of your lecturers. It doesn't matter. Just try and soak up the law wherever you can. And I wish you all the very, very best. And maintain your personality and your own special something, because that will get you through anything at the end of the day. Just be true to yourself, okay? And pick your battles. Zibalule, so lovely chatting. Keep well.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Pleasure. Bye.